I know what happens when systems leave people exposed. That is why I do not treat AI alignment as only a technical problem. If AI systems are going to mediate work, knowledge, business, memory, identity, opportunity, and decision-making, then the question is not only whether those systems are intelligent. The deeper question is whether they preserve human agency. Because intelligence without agency can become dependency. And dependency, when it is designed into infrastructure, becomes power. That is the issue I keep coming back to. I am not looking at this from the top of the system. My experience with housing instability and homelessness spans decades. I know what it means to be exposed to systems that can affect your life without being meaningfully accountable to you. That kind of experience changes what you notice. You notice when decisions are made above people instead of with them. You notice when systems become impossible to contest. You notice when help comes with control attached. And you notice how quickly a person can lose agency when every path forward depends on institutions, rules, permissions, and processes they do not control. That is why I say I learned systems from the underside. And that is why I think AI has to be built differently. The first lesson is this. A system does not need malice to harm people. It only has to be powerful, opaque, and unaccountable. That matters for AI because many of these systems will not look dangerous at first. They will look useful. They will summarize, recommend, rank, filter, classify, decide, assist, automate. But if people cannot inspect how a system works, cannot challenge what it says, cannot correct its memory, cannot understand its authority, and cannot meaningfully say no, then the system is already reducing agency. That is exposure. And exposure does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like being misclassified. Sometimes it looks like being invisible. Sometimes it looks like being dependent on a process that gives you no real explanation. Sometimes it looks like having your options shaped before you ever get to choose. That is why AI alignment can not only mean controlling outputs. A system can produce safe-looking answers and still deepen dependency. A system can avoid offensive language and still concentrate power. A system can follow instructions and still leave people with no meaningful leverage. So the question is not only, did the model behave? The question is, what kind of relationship does the system create between human beings and power? The second lesson is this. Dependency is not the same as help. Real help increases capacity. Dependency reduces agency. A system can assist you in a way that makes you stronger, more capable, more informed, and more able to act. Or it can assist you in a way that slowly makes you less able to function without it. That difference matters. And in the AI age, that difference may become one of the most important political, technical, and ethical questions we face. If AI becomes something must rent to think, work, create, compete, learn, organize, communicate, or participate, then we are not simply building tools. We are building dependency layers. And if those dependency layers are controlled by a small number of institutions, then the future starts to look less like empowerment and more like digital feudalism. That is why my core belief is simple. AI should increase human capacity, not deepen dependency. The third lesson is this. Boundaries are not optional. Once a system has power, boundaries are not decoration. They are the difference between assistance and control. In AI systems, boundaries mean permissions. They mean governance. They mean auditability. They mean memory limits. They mean human review. They mean correction. They mean escalation. They mean knowing what the system is allowed to do, what it is not allowed to do, and where human judgment must remain central. Without boundaries, intelligence becomes force. Without governance, autonomy becomes delegated power without accountability. Without correction, memory becomes a liability. Without human review, automation can quietly replace responsibility. This is why I keep talking about memory, orchestration, governance, symbiosis, feedback, and alignment. Those are not separate topics. They are parts of the same question. Does the system preserve human agency? Or does it quietly replace agency with dependency? That is the architectural issue. When I talk about sovereign AI systems, I do not mean isolated systems where every person is alone against the machine. And when I talk about federated sovereignty, I do not mean escape for only the technically capable, the wealthy, or the already protected. I mean protected participation. I mean systems where capability can increase without forcing people to surrender all agency to a central authority. I mean technology that can help individuals, communities, organizations, and institutions act with more capacity, more clarity, and more accountability. That is the alternative to digital feudalism. Not anti-technology, not nostalgia, not pretending AI can be stopped by ignoring it. The answer is better architecture. Architecture that treats human agency as a design requirement. Architecture that treats ethical constraint as infrastructure. Architecture that understands that power must have boundaries. This is personal to me, but it is not only personal. My own life gave me a certain view of systems, but the issue is bigger than my story. If AI systems are going to shape the future, then they should not be built around dependency by default. They should not make human beings weaker, less capable, less sovereign, or less able to contest the systems around them. They should increase capacity. They should preserve agency. They should make people more able to act, not more dependent on permission. That is why I am building around sovereignty, agency, and ethical constraint. Not because those words sound good, because I know what happens when systems leave people exposed. And I do not think we should build the next generation of intelligence on top of that same mistake. AI should increase human capacity, not deepen dependency.